Good afternoon. I would like to call the meeting of the Assembly Committee on Revenue to order. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Assembly members Considine, De Silva, Flanagan, Gallant, Goulding, Gray, Hafen, Wynn, O'Neill, Roth, Chair Backus.
Present, and please mark Assembly members Gray and Hafen present when they arrive. And if they don't make it for some reason, then I take it they may be absent excused. And with that, I would like to welcome our audience members here in Carson City, as well as those down in Las Vegas this late afternoon, as well as those that are watching over the internet. We would just ask and remind everyone to please mute your electronic devices, and also persons wishing to give testimony today. If you are in person, please sign in at the door, and if a person is present, please provide a business card. For those that may wish to give testimony or call in for public comment at the end of today's hearing, wishes to give comment, please state and spell your name for the record. With that, today on the agenda, we have the presentation from the Gaming Control Board, and we will also hear one bill in this committee, which is Assembly Bill 11, which revises provisions governing the Department of Taxation. With that, I would like to welcome the presenters from the Gaming Control Board to make their way to the table. Welcome to the committee, and I thank you. I believe you may have had to travel up north, so we appreciate that. So welcome to the Assembly Committee on Revenue. And please feel free to begin when you all are ready.
You good? Yep. All right. Good afternoon, Chair Backus, Vice Chair Considine, and members of the Assembly Committee on Revenue. For the record, my name is Kirk Hendrick, and I'm the chair of the Nevada Gaming Control Board. It is an honor to be here before you today and present an overview of the Game Control Board to the committee. Here with me today are, to my right, Sebastian Ross, the board's Senior Policy Counsel. Board member Shandini Sindal is in the audience, along with Chan Linksavath, who is the Chief of the Tax and License Division at the board, Mike Lawton, who is the board's Senior Economic Analyst, and board member Judge Assad is in Las Vegas via teleconference with other chiefs of the Gaming Control Board. Our presentation today will provide an overview of the revenue sources that the board collects pursuant to various provisions in Chapter 463 of the Nevada Revised Statutes. To better understand the existing statutory framework as it relates to gaming taxes and fees, I'll first provide a very brief overview on how Nevada gaming is regulated. Then Mr. Ross will guide the committee through the remainder of the board's presentation, specifically regarding taxes, fees, and collections. Regarding Nevada's two-tiered system, I'm sure you're all aware that the Gaming Control Board is the day-to-day operating regulatory agency, and the Nevada Gaming Commission is the oversight body. The Gaming Commission is a part-time body of 5 gaming commissioners. The Gaming Commission deals with all of the laws, regulations, disciplinary issues, and policy formation. The board is the 24/7 day-to-day operating agency that is in charge of regulating and enforcing all gaming laws, statutes, and regulations that are passed by the Nevada Gaming Commission. The third body on the chart you have in front of you is the Gaming Policy Committee. The committee consists of members from the legislature, gaming regulators, representatives of the gaming industry, tribal representatives, and members of academia. It is called at the discretion of the governor, who would chair the committee when so called. The committee serves as a broadly represented agency committee that provides policy advice and recommendations to the board and the commission. The mission of the Gaming Control Board is to provide strict regulation of all gaming activity, persons involved in gaming, gaming locations, associations, and any other business practices of gaming companies. The statutory obligation of the board is to protect the integrity and stability of the gaming industry. The board serves a critical role to ensure that taxes and fees are accurately and timely collected for the benefit of Nevada and its citizens. The board is organized into 6 divisions, which I will briefly go through. The Administration Division, as its name implies, operates through the administration agency for all 5 other divisions. It provides finances, budget, training, and records. It also provides operational support, including legal and economic research, and the board's information security and administrative hearing offices. The Audit Division audits gaming licensees on a 2.5 to 3 year basis audit cycle. The Audit Division is responsible for auditing Group 1 licensees, which for fiscal year 2024 are those licensees who have gross gaming revenue of approximately $8 million or more per year. The board's Enforcement Division provides round-the-clock enforcement. This division is the board's in-house unit of post-certified peace officers. These agents conduct criminal and regulatory investigations, often working with federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies. The Investigations Division investigates all person or entities seeking to do business in Nevada's gaming industry. This division conducts investigations of all applicants and submits recommendations through detailed reports to the board and commission. The investigation is also responsible agency for the division agency of monitoring activities of publicly traded corporations to ensure compliance with all Nevada gaming requirements. The Tax and License Division is charged with collecting all taxes, fees, penalties, and fines. The division also audits Group 2 licensees, which are those non-restricted licensees with gross gaming revenue of approximately $8 million or less per year. The Tax and License Division also monitors restricted licensee locations such as taverns, bars, grocery and convenience stores. Restricted locations are those with 15 or fewer slot machines. The division also monitors compacts entered into with Nevada's indigenous tribes. Finally, before a game or device or software is placed on a casino floor, the board's Technology Division ensures that it meets specific criteria for the public to be able to play. The division also works with independent testing labs to ensure that products, devices, and equipment meet Nevada standards. The Technology Division also makes sure that Nevada's technology and new innovations from the industry are available to the public as soon as possible. Lastly, the division provides forensic support to all other divisions of the Gaming Control Board. And now, with the chair's permission, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Mr. Ross to provide a breakdown of gaming revenue.
Good afternoon, Chair Backus, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Sebastian Ross. I'm the board's Senior Policy Counsel. The pie chart on this slide shows revenues collected during fiscal year 24 by geographic area. For fiscal year 24, the state collected over $1.2 billion in gaming taxes and fees. The table on slide 10 breaks that figure down by the tax or fee collected, with the largest category being the percentage fees collected pursuant to NRS 463-370, which I'll discuss in more detail shortly. The line graph on slide 11 charts annual collections for the 3 largest tax and fee categories: percentage fees, live entertainment tax collected by the Gaming Control Board, and annual slot tax. Additionally, the blue line represents total annual collections for taxes and fees. Diving a little deeper into each specific tax and fee, the percentage fees are discussed on slide 12. This fee is based on the monthly gross gaming revenue generated by each non-restricted licensee, which is calculated on a 3-tiered scale. The majority of gross gaming revenue is taxed at that 6.75% rate in the 3rd tier, resulting in the 2 totals for fiscal years 23 and 24. Regarding live entertainment tax, or LET, the Gaming Control Board and the Department of Taxation jointly administer and collect those taxes. If live entertainment occurs at a licensed gaming establishment, the board is responsible for collecting the LET associated with that live entertainment. The Department of Taxation collects LET associated with live entertainment that takes place at all other locations throughout the state. The next slide shows a quarterly fee of $20 per machine charged to non-restricted licensees. It also shows the fees on slot machines charged to restricted licensees based on how many machines each licensee has available for play. Non-restricted game fees apply to the number of table, card, and counter games a non-restricted licensee operates during each quarter. The fee tiers are set forth in NRS 463-383. Advanced license fees apply only to new operations. A new licensee, after its first month of operation, pays a fee equal to 3 times the amount of percentage fees it owes for that first month. While many tend to think of gaming licensees in terms of casinos, bars, and restaurants, there are a number of other licensees that are critical to the success of the gaming industry. Those licensees include equipment manufacturers, device distributors, and slot operators, just to name a few. This slide notes the annual fees paid by these types of non-casino licensees. The annual slot tax paid by all licensees on a per slot machine basis is $250 per year. This tax is distributed to various accounts and programs, with the first $5 million being deposited into the Capital Construction Fund for higher education, followed by 1/5 of the remainder to the Special Capital Construction Fund for higher education, while the balance is deposited to the State Distributed School Account. The annual games fee, based on the number of games of a non-restricted licensee, is collected and split equally among Nevada's 17 counties. An additional revenue source occurs when a non-restricted licensee is in possession of a wagering voucher where monies are owed but never paid or redeemed prior to the voucher's expiration date. In those instances, the licensee is required to remit 75% of the value of those unredeemed vouchers to the state on a quarterly basis. The last three fees collected by the board are related to interactive gaming licenses, shown here on slides 19 and 20. And so in conclusion of the board's overview of Nevada's gaming regulatory structure and taxes and fees that the Nevada Gaming Control Board collects, the board is proud to continue to regulate the gaming industry with professional, timely, and strict regulation. Thank you for the opportunity to present before you today, and we're happy to answer any questions that the committee may have.
Thank you so much, Chair Hendrickson, Mr. Sebastian, for your presentation. Actually, Mr. Ross, sorry about that. Does any of the committee members have any questions? Oh, Assemblymember De Silva.
Thank you, Chair. And Chair Hendrick and Mr. Ross, just a quick question about Group 2 licenses. Can you just give us like an overview as to exactly what those are? And yes, thank you.
Thank you, Assemblymember De Silva. Again, for the record, Kirk Hendrick, if I might, with the chair's approval, I'd like to bring up Chief Chan Linksavath. He is in charge of all Group 2 licensees and be happy to address that.
Hello, Chan Linksavath. For the record, Lengssavath. Group 2 licensees are those that annually have a gross gaming revenue of $8 million or less, and there's less requirements of those types of groups versus like the larger group ones you see on the strip. They don't require internal audit departments or external auditors to audit their daily operations, and the audit cycle is about 2.5 to 3 years. We try to keep it at 2.5, but it can creep up to 3 years.
Quick follow-up, Chair? Yes. So are these licenses capped, meaning that are there a certain amount that are distributed on an annual basis or biannual basis? And then also, what's the process of receiving a Group 2 license? Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Assemblyman De Silva. Chan Linksavath for the record. There is no cap as long as you are you apply and you're found suitable, or the licensee is found suitable to be licensed. You can be licensed. I apologize. What was the second question you had? Sorry.
Yeah, the process for obtaining a Group 2 license.
Right. The process is no different from a Group 1 or a Group 2. They essentially have to apply. The investigations division does the background investigation on that, just like they do with Group 1s. Yep.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Assemblymember Flanagan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted a point of understanding. So the annual slot tax that you referred to, Mr. Ross, I believe it is. So the first $5 million is for the Capital Construction Fund for higher education, and 20% of the tax is remitted to the Special Capital Construction Fund. So is that the annual slot tax in its entirety in terms of the $38 million that's referenced there, or is it 5 million goes and then a percentage of the 5 million goes? Or is it the entire 38 million that's being broken down and then the remainder is creating the distributive school account?
Hi, Assemblymember Flanagan. This is Channeling Savant for the record. It's the first 5 million of the 38 million goes to that, and then it's 1/5 after that goes to the capital construction and special capital construction fund, sorry, and then the remaining goes to the state education fund.
Okay, so all of that tax is distributed in some way across the state in some form.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members that have any questions for our Gaming Control Board? I did have some questions that I wanted to circle back on. One is with respect, and I feel like we hear this every year, and so I apologize if I couldn't recall, but when looking at the slot fees and as well as the annual slot tax, one of the things is slots over the years, since probably from when I was a child until now, have gotten so complicated that they essentially have turned one machine, basically can have like multiple games on it. And so my question is, are those treated differently, or is it just the one machine itself for purposes of determining these fees and taxes?
Thank you, Chair Backus. Kirk Hendrick for the record. I believe what your question is asking is, even though there's several different games that a player can choose, if they're sitting at one device, is that counted as one device? And the answer is yes. That the definition of a gaming device has been the same for many years, and it's one device, and then the tax is based on the device.
Thank you. And then I had another question, taking your attention to, it was the slide where I think it was, I'll go to it. It was on the structure of Nevada Gaming Control Board, looking at, I'm not sure what slide that is, but you guys probably don't even need to reference it. But one of the tax and license division duties is to monitor tribal gaming compacts in Nevada. And I had kind of two questions. One was, I have never looked at our gaming compacts. I'm sure they're online, but with respect to the gaming compacts with any of the tribes that do enter a compact with the state, is there a state revenue component set forth in any of those? And if so, are you guys collecting that revenue as well?
Thank you for the question, Chair Backus. This is Chan Langsbot for the record. For the tribal license, or I'm sorry, the tribes that do have a compact, there are no revenue components to it. We do have one that has an intergovernment agreement. And for that case, it's more for like recouping cost, and it's 1% gross, or the larger of 1% gross gaming, or our cost.
And then circling and following up on that, you had indicated that there is also the policy committee, the gaming policy committee, and with that, there was a designated tribal representative on that committee. Is that tribal representative from one of our 28 bands colonies, or is it just a tribal representative, maybe one of our urban Indians?
Kirk Hendrick for the record. Thank you, Chair Backus. That committee will select someone, and I apologize that I don't know off the top of my head how they go about the process of selecting the member, but it is one of the Nevada indigenous tribes as a representative, so I'm guessing it's correct to your question.
Thank you, and I will go back to Assemblymember Flanagan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just have one more question. It's concerning the live entertainment tax. I noted in some of the other slides you explained how the funds are used, and I was wondering if you could educate me on how the live entertainment tax is used.
Chan Langsfeld for the record. The live entertainment tax just goes into the general fund. There's, as far as I know, there's no distribution otherwise.
Thank you.
And I did have another question. One of the things that is interesting in Nevada, we have different arms that collect revenue, while we may have some other arms that are overseeing like licensing issues. And it's kind of interesting because the Gaming Control Board, along with the other side, the Gaming Commission, kind of handle both. With that, when a licensee does not pay its taxes or fees, does it make it easier to address penalties or address a licensee's failure to remit its revenue to the Gaming Control Board?
Thank you, Chair Backus. Kirk Hendrick for the record. Yes, a couple of parts to that. The Gaming Control Board is very proud of its record on collections. We actually, for last fiscal year, collected 99.999998%. I believe the total, and the chief can correct me, was a little over $1 billion. Was it?
Yeah, Chan for the record, 1.2 billion, over 1.2 billion.
1.2 billion, and we weren't able to collect $1,740. I almost actually paid that myself so that I could sit in front of you and say, we collected 100%. I might still do that, so I can make this conversation shorter. But yes, one of the things about the Game Control Board is people realize that it's a privileged license. And if they want to keep that privileged license, they absolutely have to pay their taxes. The only time we have where they don't pay their taxes is if somebody may have started a business, and let's say they started on January 1 and had it for 5 days, and then they realized that they had to pay for that month, and they completely shut down their business, and they went out of state, and they said, I never plan on being in gaming ever again. And we said, well, you still owe $1,740. And they said, well, I'm never coming back. That's the only chance. Most people, a lot of these fees and taxes are front-loaded, so we're not actually chasing much tax. So we're very happy with our collection rate.
And so for like the example of the person who refuses to pay and they claim they're never coming back, would that also be because you could utilize the withholding of like their license, like they will lose their license so they can't operate?
Thank you, Chair Backus. Kirk Hendrick for the record. Extremely well put. If that person were to come back and say they'd like to have a privileged license in the state of Nevada, there will be a file on them, their entities, their background, and it'll say, you didn't pay the state of Nevada $1,740. So what are your chances of getting licensed again in the state? It would be very slim.
Thank you so much. And I didn't want to put, oh yeah, and we'll go to Assemblymember O'Neill.
You prompted me to ask this question, Chair. I appreciate it. So I'm leaving Nevada. I owe you money. Adios. But I want to go to Missouri. Do we have compacts or any interaction with them that this person may have not had left us? They want a gaming license there that we can inform Missouri or wherever it may be of their situation?
Thank you, Assemblymember O'Neill. Kirk Hendrick for the record. We don't have any formal compact, but we work with all other gaming regulators around the world. Matter of fact, I'll take a side note here and do a little PSA on behalf of the Gaming Control Board. We train every other gaming regulator around the world. They come to Nevada to learn how to be regulators. So we have very wonderful relationships with every other state. If they were to see that somebody had left Nevada as a prior gaming licensee and applied in their state, they would call us. And what we would usually say to them is they still owe us tax money, and that would be something that they would have to address before they got licensed in that state. Our chances of collecting in that situation would still be slim because they wouldn't be within our borders. So chasing $1,700, you just wouldn't make much money on a collection effort. But if it is a large number, we absolutely would go after it on a collection basis. And I can tell you, even on that small amount, we sent enforcement agents out after that person and said, you still owe the state money, and they're out of the country right now.
I'm impressed. And since you're so willing about taxes, and I have some property tax that we could talk about later, but thank you, Chair, for the time. I do appreciate it.
Thank you. Members, do we have any other questions? Well, I thank you so much for your presentation this evening and answering our questions. And so with that, we'll go ahead and move to our next agenda item, which is we are going to have a bill hearing. this evening, and I will go ahead and open up the hearing for Assembly Bill 11. And I would ask the presenters from the Department of Taxation to make their way to the table. And welcome back, and please feel free to begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Shelley Hughes, Executive Director for the Nevada Department of Taxation. I have with me Yvonne Navarez-Goodson, Chief Deputy Executive Director. We are here to present Assembly Bill 11. Assembly Bill 11 is a simple change to the timing of when the department is required to provide its proposed budget and proposed BDRs to the Nevada Tax Commission. NRS 360.105 requires the department to submit to the Nevada Tax Commission at a meeting conducted pursuant to NRS 361.455, which occurs on June 25th of an even-numbered year, or sometime in June if that meeting doesn't occur, a copy of the proposed budget for the department and legislation proposed by the department. The department is subject to conflicting statutes regarding the existing date by which it may publicly provide these documents to the Nevada Tax Commission in an open public meeting. In June of each even-numbered year, the department's budget is not even built. Agency budget requests must be submitted by September 1st each even-numbered year. The department's enhancement requests are incorporated into the governor's recommended budget, which remains confidential until the State of the State address. Additionally, the department's bill draft requests have not been approved by the governor's office before June of an even-numbered year. The bill draft requests submitted by the governor's office are due to the Legislative Council Bureau by August 1st. Pursuant to NRS 218D.175 and NRS 218D.580, subsection 4, BDRs are approved and submitted by the governor's office are not public until pre-filed. The department would like to revise the dates by which it must present these documents to the Nevada Tax Commission in an open meeting to January of every odd-numbered year to avoid any of these confidentiality and timing issues. This change in dates would not prevent the commission from directing the department to include an item in its budget or to pursue a BDR regarding a specific item at any of its commission meetings. So for the bill, Section 1 of Assembly Bill 11 changes the date to submit these reports to January of each odd-numbered year, and Section 2 of Assembly Bill 11 makes the act effective upon passage and approval. That concludes our presentation, and we are available to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Director Hughes. With that, we will go ahead and take questions from our committee members. I will go ahead and start with Assembly Member Roth.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the presentation. I'm new to this committee, so if you could help me with a little bit of background on the change. Do you know what the original intent was regarding the June deadline?
Shelley Hughes for the record. Yes, so the language was put into statute in 1997. From reading through the legislative history, it appeared at the time that there was a conflict between the commission and the department, particularly the executive director. At that time, the executive director was appealing decisions of the Nevada Tax Commission and retaining the Attorney General's office. The commission did not approve of this and was working on language to prevent the department from appealing the commission decisions. Simultaneously, the language of requiring the department to submit its proposed budget and BDRs during the June timeframe was included in the statute. Reading the legislative history, the commission chair at the time In her testimony at the May 22nd, 1997 Senate Committee on Taxation meeting, indicated that the commission did not want to micromanage the department, but this language would confirm that the commission was head of the department and ensures that the department communicates with the commission as its policy-setting body. And so with AB 11, we would still communicate with the commission, it would just be on a different date. Also, I want to note that this language was adopted in 1997, so it's possible that the budgetary process and the BDR process was a lot different than it is today, that the June timeframe may have been reasonable at that time. In fact, in 1998, Nevada voters approved a constitutional amendment limiting each legislative session, beginning in 1999, to 120 days, and changing the first day of session to the first Monday in February, which may have affected the timing of the budgetary and BDR process. So currently, with the department's budget and BDRs being developed later than the June timeframe, and then having confidentiality restrictions in place that prevent any budget or BDR language being released, submitting anything public prior to January really isn't a possibility.
Thank you so much. Next, we will go to Vice Chair Considine.
Thank you, Chair. With the Nevada Tax Commission, what role, if any, does that play in the budget and legislation process for the department under current law?
Shelley Hughes for the record. The commission traditionally isn't involved in the day-to-day operations of the department. They do not weigh in on any of our budgetary matters. Some of our BDRs, they do ask that we pursue certain policy matters, but all those policy matters do go through the governor's office and have to have the governor's approval before we move forward with them.
Would the passage of this bill affect anything with the Taxation Commission?
Shelley Hughes for the record. Other than the timing, I don't think it will affect anything with the Nevada Tax Commission.
Thank you. And then I have a couple, do we have any other questions from any other members on our committee? Okay, with that, I'll ask a couple. Is it possible for Department of Tax to present the information to the commission in a closed meeting to maintain the confidentiality as an alternative to changing the dates?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Yvonne Navarez-Goodson, Chief Deputy. At this point, under the open meeting law, the Tax Commission may meet with counsel in a non-meeting for what is considered potential or threatened or existing litigation. And so historically, we have not had authority outside of a council meeting for that purpose to meet with the commission confidentially.
Thank you. And of course, in my head, I'm thinking, how can you separate this out and make like an exclusion? But it almost seems like that could be like another maybe possible thought. And then also, is the Department of Tax's intention that a tax commission meeting be scheduled within the 2-week period before the beginning of the legislative session, but before the end of January, in order to comply with both this law and the State Budget Act if this bill were to be approved?
Shelley Hughes for the record. Yes, that is the department's intention.
Thank you so much. With that, I don't believe we have any other questions from any other assembly members. So I thank you for your presentation, and we'll go ahead and now open up this, we'll take testimony in support of Assembly Bill 11. So is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 11? Okay, I think all our guests in Las Vegas have left, but is there anyone in Las Vegas who wishes to provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 11? We'll go to the phone lines. AVH, is there anyone on the phone line wishing to give testimony in support of Assembly Bill 11? Doesn't look like it. Okay.
Chair, the public line is open and working. There are no callers at this time.
Thank you so much, AVH. Next, we'll go ahead back to Carson City and take any testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 11. No one's making their way up. No one's in Las Vegas. AVH, is there still no one on the phone lines?
Chair, there are no callers on the line.
Perfect. We'll go ahead and take neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 11. First, we'll start here in Carson City. Don't see anyone making their way here. No one's still in Las Vegas to take neutral testimony. AVH, is there anyone on the phone line wishing to give neutral testimony regarding Assembly Bill 11?
Chair, there are no callers to testify at this time.
Perfect. Do the presenters want to make any closing remarks? Okay, you'll go ahead and waive those closing remarks. At that time, then I'll go ahead and close the hearing on Assembly Bill 11. This brings us to almost to the end of our agenda. The last item we have now is public comment. I don't see anyone in Las Vegas, but if there was anyone in Las Vegas wishing to make public comment at this time, please come to the front. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to give public comment this evening? Okay, with that, we'll go to the phone lines. AVH, is there anyone on the phone lines wishing to give public comment this evening?
The public line is open and working. There are no callers at this time.
Thank you so much. Is there anybody on the committee members want to make any comments? Yes, we're good. Okay, so with that, our next meeting will be on Thursday afternoon, and that concludes our meeting today. We are adjourned.